Hello, everyone. Big news from the Fed this past week. Jerome Powell is resetting the rules and he's hinting at a September rate cut while sending a subtle message to President Trump that the Fed is guided by data and not politics. Last week we talked about that. Now, if you want clarity on how politics affects policy and how that affects rates and how that affects your mortgage and your future, then you want to be able to hit like and subscribe so that every week you're following what's going on, because I try to connect those dots for you. Here's my commitment. As much as I'm not comfortable in front of the camera, I'm committed to educating people so that they're not just saying to me and asking, hey, Michelle, what's my rate? The truth is rates change all the time. Just last week, a client said to me, yeah, but Michelle, my friend got under 4%. And I had to say to her and remind her, yes, your friend probably closed or bought like 4 or 5 months ago. And sure enough, when she circled back, she was like, yeah, you're right. And I had to explain that, rates follow the bond market. And since those move, that's why even since last week, we've seen like 5-10 basis points. And those 5-10 basis points, you start adding them up. You don't notice them, but they do add up to 30, 40, 50, 60 basis points. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh. So while everybody's focused on the rate, what actually drives those rate changes is the politics and the policy. And that's what I'm trying to break down every single week, because without that context and without those numbers, sometimes rates don't make sense and people don't understand what's going on. So on August 22nd at the Jackson Hole, the Federal Reserve, they announced a little bit of a reset. They're scrapping their post-pandemic strategy of tolerating inflation at around over 2%. And now they've decided to return to a more traditional focus on price stability. So when you listen to Powell's speech, he had a little bit of a dovish tone. And he's saying that it's a little bit of a challenging situation, but they're going to be paying attention to the data. So we'll see. Now, what he didn't use the word was stagflation. But let's be honest, when inflation is rising and jobs are weakening, which is exactly what we've been seeing, that changes things, and the market already knows it. So Powell, he already made it very clear that decisions, like I said, are going to be based on data and not politics. And that was a nice direct message to Mr. Donald Trump that they're going to be holding on to their independence. And let's face it, independence is becoming a theme everywhere, and even here in Canada, right? Elbows up, they say. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs, they've been warning of the word, and they've been using the word stagflation risks are climbing. Higher prices, slowing economy, rising unemployment. I mean, the list goes on. And jobless claims in the U.S. jumped to 120,000 since March. And that's the highest since 2021, right? Yeah. And inflation ticked up from 2.8 to 3.1. So not a good mix. So even though the markets are betting on some relief, that's for sure, I think that the markets have said that there's a 90% chance that they'll do a quarter cut in December or something like that. While here in Canada, we've been a little bit more cautious, and September cut is only at around 40% chance. So the Bank of Canada is waiting to see if inflation is going to cool and what the job numbers are going to show, which is what we discussed last week. Anyways, there's the next few weeks. We have like 5 different announcements that are coming up. August 29th, the core PCE. September 5th, the non-farm payroll in the US, and in Canada, it's going to be the Canada's job numbers. September 11th is the US inflation, and then September 16th is Canada's inflation, and then September 17th is the Bank of Canada's announcement that's usually live at like 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Anyways, so we'll see what starts to happen. But in the meanwhile, the market seemed to be like bracing for a bit of stagflation, and they're watching jobs and they're watching all of this stuff, and it's kind of a little bit now with a magnifying glass. And for Canadians, I guess the takeaway this time is pretty simple. that the pressure on rates is downwards, but we don't know how much. It depends on whether Ottawa is going to follow Washington and or wait for their own numbers. And like I said, who's going to get there first as far as dropping rates? We'll see what happens. So anyway, if you're watching this and you want to understand how things move along and how all of this impacts your mortgage decisions, whether you're selling, renewing, refinancing, or investment, or you have retirement planning, stay tuned, because this kind of information that's going to be coming up over the next week will probably help you make some decisions. And just so you know a little bit about me and who I am behind the camera, because this is my office, I've been a mortgage agent for the last 27 years. I've built my business completely by referral, and I want to expand myself by educating young people, because that's how they seem to find you, is online. So if you're a home buyer, if you're a first-time home buyer, if you're an investor, if you're renewing, and if you like customized information, because mortgages is this huge world, but really at the end of the day, you just need to know what applies to you. So I'm happy to cut through all of that noise and give you all of that clarity. Ideally, I'd love a year in advance. 6 months is amazing, so that by the time we get all that work done, I can lock in a rate 120 days beforehand, and we're just like ready to go. And I like people making decisions with confidence, but you can't do that kind of thing when you're calling me a week before and saying, oh, my mortgage is renewing in like 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. There's not enough time to get stuff done. So yeah, give me a call if you have any questions, and until next week, be well.